In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. Tonight, before we begin the show, I'd like to do a Black History reflection of Mary McLeod Bethune before I introduce our wonderful guest tonight. Before the doors of opportunity were ever held open, someone had to build the door itself. Mary McLeod Bethune, born the 15th of 17 children to formerly enslaved parents in Maysville, South Carolina, did exactly that. In an era when Black Americans were systemically denied access to education, employment, and civic life, Bethune refused to accept the architecture of limitation. She walked into a world that told her she had no place in its classrooms, its boardrooms, or its halls of power. And she responded not with retreat, but with construction. She built schools, she built organizations, she built leaders, and in doing so, she built a future that present generations now inhabits. In 1904, with just $1.50 and unshakable sense of divine purpose, Bethune founded the Daytona Literary and Industrial Training School of Negro Girls in Daytona Beach, Florida. That institution would eventually become Bethune-Cookman University, a thriving HBCU that has educated generations of Black professionals, leaders, and community builders. But Bethune's work extended far beyond the walls of any single campus. She founded the National Council of Negro Women in 1935, creating one of the most powerful advocacies and community uplifting organizations in American history. She served as an advisor to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, becoming the highest ranking Black government official of her era and the first Black woman to head a federal agency directing the Division of Negro Affairs within um, Negroes Affairs within the National Youth Administration. At every level, local, regional, and national, Bethune made talent development her mission. She understood that education was not merely academic, it was economic. It was civic, it was liberation. What makes Mary McLeod Bethune's legacy so profoundly resonant in this moment on this episode of American Black and White is the unmistakable thread that runs from her life's work directly into the work of our guest carries today. Bethune believed that connecting people to opportunity, equipping them with skills, and building institutional bridges between communities and employers was the most radical and effective act a leader could perform. She did not just speak about equity, she operationalized it. She built systems, she cultivated pipelines, she sat at tables of power and pulled others in. Tonight's guest, Dr. TaRita Johnson, walks in that same prophetic tradition, using her platform, her expertise, and her position at one of Michigan's most consequential economic development organizations to do precisely what Bethune did a century before, building bridges between talent and opportunity and ensure that no one is left on the wrong side of the divide. Mary McLeod Bethune once wrote, "The drums of Africa still beat in my heart. They will not let me rest while there is a single Negro boy or girl without a chance to prove his worth." That spirit, restless, purposefully, and deeply committed to human potential, is the spirit we celebrate tonight. We honor Bethune's legacy by welcoming a woman who carries that torch with grace, strategy, and power. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. TaRita Johnson is in the building. Welcome to the show, Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson?
But I am tremendously honored to be here and be a guest on your podcast, as well as I wouldn't even, just to be in the same category with Bethune-Cookman is phenomenal.
I welcome you to for that, and just thinking about the work that you do, which is something that serves our community oh so well, is what we appreciate, and I'm glad that you're here. So before we actually get into the show, are there any other things that you'd like to say to our audience before we start?
Just that's it. Once again, it is an honor and a privilege to be featured here tonight and to just encourage you all. I believe that everybody is gifted and their gifts are not for themselves, but they are used to build other people and make an impact in the world.
Yes. And so I like to start the show, as I do with every show, where I like to have the audience to get the opportunity to learn more about you as we get into this wonderful presentation tonight. My first question for you, Dr. Johnson, is let's start at the very beginning. Where did you grow up, and what was life like for that little girl who would one day become the leader you are today?
I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. It's called Warrensville Heights, Ohio, a predominantly African American suburb. And I grew up with my mom and dad and a host of my big mama, my host of uncles and aunties who really grounded me. I grew up with a strong faith basis that I still carry today and such a respect for elders and that I carry on today as well. And so I was a very shy little girl, but I was around all of these powerful people in my family that were not afraid to use their voice in any instance. And I used to get embarrassed because I'm like, my mom, here she go. She didn't have one iota of, and still don't, of shyness in her. And she used it as she did so much work in the community, in the church, at her workplace, and just had a big heart and still does for caring for other people. And so that's how I grew up.
So, who were the adults in your early life, beyond your grandmother and mother, who saw something special in you and pushed you towards greatness?
I really, that foundation was also with my father, my aunties, my uncle is strongly in the church. There were many women in my church. I remember when I was 16, we went to Spelman College graduation because one of our own was graduating, and she was the very last one to cross the stage. And so I had a strong influence of Delta Sigma Theta, which I am a part of that organization today. And I remember her strutting across that stage, and the keynote was Maya Angelou.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had many, many strong leaders, particularly in men and women, but there were many strong Black women that were older that poured into me and saw something in me, even when I couldn't see it in myself.
Mm. So, when you were young, what did you think your life was going to look like? And did you ever imagine you'd be doing the work you're doing now?
No, I did not. And I always wanted to be a therapist. And that's why I got an MSW, and I was a therapist for a short stint, and also at times teach how to be a therapist to undergrads. But I will tell you, I just wanted to help people. I had imagined people sitting on my psychiatry couch or psychologist couch. I just felt like as a young child growing up, I was very observant, and I had an old soul because I was around all of these women, my big mama, my mom, and my aunties. And whether it was shopping or fashion shows, they love fashion. And so, and during all of that, they would say things, and I would hear all of these things about the experiences that they were encountering as Black women in the workspace. And I would hear that at home with my father as well. And I felt like, gosh, I really want to make an impact, but I want to help people one by one. And so I just wanted to be a therapist, and that was the greatest dream I had.
Take us through your educational journey from your undergrad years all the way through to earning your doctoral degree. What was that road like?
Oh, wow. It was quite the road. I graduated. I was in National Honor Society in high school, and there was no there was no other choice in my household. You going to college. I have an older sister, and I grew up watching, a different world. So that was like, woo. And then my sister, when they had something called Little Sibs Weekend, and she would bring me up to college, and I got to stay in the dorms and do all of the things. And I thought, this is where it's at. I was over high school. And so I ended up going to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. It is surrounded in the middle of nowhere. The closest city, I guess, would be maybe Middletown, maybe about 30 minutes away, which had a lot of Black people, but Oxford did not. And and then a little bit further out was Cincinnati, Ohio. And I will tell you, boy, did I have an experience there. Good, bad, and ugly. Had a great education, a great support system, because in those days, when you were at a predominantly white institution, if it was another person of color on that campus, particularly a Black person, oh, we gonna know each other. We gonna speak to each other. I'm gonna sit down with you in the lunchroom. You name it. If I saw you, I'm tired of being the only one in the classroom or one of two. Listen, we gonna know each other, even if you didn't know you was Black. So just that was an experience for me. I got heavily involved on campus in many different activities, and I started to shed, like, I'm not really so shy after all here. And that's where I kind of like developed and was pushed to develop. I had some experiences there and watched other people go through some experiences that pushed me to learn how to amplify my voice. My mom would say to me, either you're going to learn to use your voice and not always be so nice now, or you're going to learn to use it later, but you're going to use it.
Right.
So that was Miami. And then after Miami, I got married and moved to Savannah, Georgia. And I worked at Savannah State University, was a HBCU in Savannah. And that was also a wonderful experience, but different experience as well. Then I went on to, I worked a little while And then I had always wanted to get my PhD because remember, I wanted people on my couch. So I knew I had to go all the way academically. But it took me a long time to actually get there to figure out exactly what degree. And so I just finished my PhD. I graduated in July of 2025. It was confirmed in March of 2026. So I am a fresh doctor. And then my MSW, I've had that quite for many, many years, but it took me a while to get through the process of the PhD program, but I am so thankful for it. And I went to Azusa Pacific University in California to do that.
Oh wow! So with all the college experience, being on the campus from your being a young lady to being the person that you are today, tell us about those experiences that what you learned from those experiences that has made you the great person that you are today.
I realized that there are in many roles and opportunities, which was the case for me, you may have to trailblaze this as the first one. And with that, I believe to whom much is given, much is required. So the responsibility is really not just about me, it is also about the impact that I am to make when I'm in the seat and how I use my voice behind closed doors, also publicly to elevate others, especially those that are on the margin, and to stand by social justice. I learned that through these different experiences from my undergrad. It wasn't easy. It wasn't always an easy role. Many times I was maybe the only Black person in the class, or one of two or three, you know what I mean? And so I had to have a foundation. That's really important to me. So I leaned a lot on my Christian and my faith background, and that foundation, that was everything, because there were days that I didn't know, uh, because of the climate, sometimes because of different situations, whether it was racist situations, even though there were many wonderful people in that school, I got a really strong foundation and a really good education. And I have many, many great friends who are all very, very successful. So I learned that I do believe iron sharpens iron. I was around a lot of people that were doing big things on campus. And I would say in my friend group alone, these are some phenomenal sisters. And that challenged me. Then when I got to the University of Michigan, I met people from all over the globe. And I realized that, you know what, I don't have to be the best at everything, but if I work hard and I monitor who is around me, who I allow to have access to me, I can excel and get to places and new heights. But it's my responsibility, no matter the situation or the circumstances that I encountered. Going through my PhD program, I had some medical things. I also went through a divorce after many years of marriage. I have children. My mom got dementia. So many things happened in my life, a loss in family of significant people and friends. And I learned that those situations, it may feel like they're going to break you, but it doesn't. And it makes you stronger, even though we don't want to go through them. There is no other way but to go through them.
Was there a specific moment, a pivotal turning point, where you said, this is the work I'm supposed to be doing, this is my lane?
Whew. Every time I did that, God had another direction. I had no idea I would be working where I'm working today. Real talk. So when this opportunity came up, people started sending me the job and said, I see you in it. And I am a builder. I have accepted it. When I get into a job, I am hired to come in with a blank canvas, and it is my responsibility to build it what it should look like. And so I am building today what talent with the marriage of diversity looks like in economic development. So I don't necessarily say in these 3 years, I'm going to be this or I'm going to do this. But as I approach situations, for me, it may not be everybody's case, but for me, my faith background is the foundation of everything. I'm asking God, close the doors that I don't need to go through and open the doors. So if I'm supposed to go through it, Lord, do it. And in my life, what I've realized in my different positions is that I operate by purpose and call. And when I'm in that position, for whatever season that is, I'm supposed to do everything that I'm supposed to do to impact the world around me.
Well, you've had an incredible journey. Like you've worked at some incredible institutions across your career: Penn State, Savannah State, Baldwin Wallace, Western Psychiatric Institute, just to name a few. How did each of those stops shape the professional you are today?
Hmm. I learned each of those areas helped me. When I was at Western Psychiatric Institute, I was a therapist, and I worked in Pittsburgh in a Stowe Rocks community, and that's when I met people of different races as well, heavily black and white, but there wasn't that much different because social economic status was lower in that community, and so I didn't see the racism in the same way working in that area because everybody was struggling, but it was more on a social economic status. We couldn't even get to the layers of everything else and why systemically things were that way. And so, in that position, I learned the beauty of all of the different students and families that I worked with, but I also learned that I couldn't just help individual one by one because they had to go back home. So whether I counseled your son or daughter in school and you still had an environment at home and in a community that was not favorable, it's not one by one. We've got to do things at a macro level, a meso level, and a micro level. All of them have to be turning at the same time to make an impact because that student had to still go back in those environments. So I learned in these positions, you got to have an open posture and you've got to be strategic from a bird's eye view all the way down and every layer in between.
So, what did you have to unlearn about yourself, about leadership, about what success looks like as you moved through your career?
Number one, do not be immobilized by fear. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Number two, you are just as good as anybody else. We all have an opportunity. It is how you use it. So you got to deal with any issues of imposter syndrome, lack of confidence. You're going to have to push yourself out there and do what you're supposed to do because it's really not about you. You got to get over yourself. And number three, that every opportunity is an opportunity. You are the one that drives how you perform within that opportunity. You've got to see it while you're in it. You cannot focus on the negative. You got to focus on the opportunity and the positive in it.
Talk to us about your faith journey. When did faith become a central pillar of not just your personal life, but your professional identity?
Ooh. See, I've been in the church since I was as a little girl, so I don't know since birth. You know what I mean? I grew up in a family what like you gonna live in this house, you going to church. So so it has been a part of my foundation. And when I got to college and could make decisions myself, God don't play about y'all. I'm telling you, He don't play about His people because I couldn't. It's not like I could get away from it. It was somebody picking me up for the church bus, with the tambourine and everything, saying we picking up everybody. Be down here at 9:00. We going to church, and we may be in church all afternoon. We gonna feed y'all afterwards too. And I like that good meal because I didn't have home food. I had food in the dining hall, even though it was decent. It wasn't like home, right? And so I didn't have a choice. Recently though, I go to Lighthouse for Life Fellowship in Greater Grand Rapids. That church was founded by Marvin Sapp, and now the bishop is Bishop Roy Marshall. He just became a bishop a couple weeks ago, and we're really excited about that. And through that process, you know how you sit in a pew, and I always served, but I had never thought that I would be a minister. Number one, I never wanted to be married to one or be one. But I felt a call on my life, a few years ago. So became a minister, and then last year I was appointed to be an elder. And if it's on you, it's on you. And I had to follow in that. And for me, I learned that there's no greater place to be but in the will of God. And through the shaping of Bishop Marshall and several others in my church today, and even my home church growing up, it's who I am. I can't separate it.
Wow. Um, so what is the most important lesson your childhood taught you that still guides you as a leader and as a human being?
Mm. You have a voice, use it to impact others. I watched my family members doing this. I would be riding around with my mom, and I'm like, she always extra. We would like be going to nursing homes. I'm like, who is she? Made the nursing home ministry her own ministry. We was always visiting somebody. I'm like, can't we just go home after church for once? It would be people on the side of the road, and if she saw a woman with child or a woman out there, my mom might just pull her car over and give them the shirt off her back, her umbrella, everything, give them a ride. And I'm like, she is putting strangers in the car. Now I know we can't do all of that today, but she was led in that way. Or it would be things like I don't know, she couldn't be quiet. If she saw injustice, she was speaking up. It was times where my mom would act like, at one point she worked at the police station, so sometimes she thought she was the police. And she was just strong and powerful, and she would address situations. And I had a moment. I was working at Calvin University. I was running the career center, and I was going through my own things, and I was at a local facility getting my own counseling through my separation. And I don't know what look I had on me, even though I used to be a therapist. A lady came up to me and she said, listen, I got to get out of town tonight. I need help. They're not helping me here. Can you help me? And they really were helping her, but she wanted immediate help. And here I am on my lunch break, and she said, I need a ride. And when you get home, when you get to my house, can you tell them that I need to be at the bus station tonight, or this man is going to kill me? And I don't know what came over me, but I had one of my mama moments. I put this lady in my car, stopped off, got her something to eat, and she had the nerve to say, I don't do McDonald's. Take me to Popeyes. I know this lady from Can of Paint. Took her to Popeyes, bought the food, then went to her house. Listen, the lady cowering behind me. I'm banging on the door like I'm the police. And I'm like her family in the door. I said, hello, I'm TaRita, and she's been working with me. And I was like, she needs to be at that bus station tonight. And I'm like, and they're like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This lady is cowering behind me. And I'm like, what in the world came over me? But something came over me. I felt her fear. And then I had to take control. And I even called the people in Chicago to make sure she was okay. And the lady on the phone in Chicago, her name was Rita.
Wow. So do you think that that's when you realized that maybe you had that calling, or was that just one of those things that made your spirituality that much stronger?
That's one of those things that made it stronger. I grew up with faith, but when it became so real to me, to be honest, where I got even crystal clear was all the trauma that I had been through and going through a separation and a divorce and everything I had. If you've ever been broken down to, like we say, the white meat, and you are at a period in your life where you have nobody else to lean on, it's in those moments that I learned who God is. It's in those moments I say, God, why do I have to go through all this to hear you? That I realize that I can't do this or none of this, or I haven't been doing any of this without you. So I'm going to honor you, even though I'm in a position that is not faith-based, who I am authentically who I am. I don't have to be out here proselytizing or preaching all the time, but you're going to see how I live. I tell my kids, the Bible, you may be the only Bible that people see. So it's just in me. And it over time, through the trauma and through pain, it got stronger.
So, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, the girl who was just starting to figure out who she was, what would you tell her?
You are good enough. Because I didn't think I was good enough.
Oh, really? So how did that come to be?
I was really shy, and I was around all these extroverted, and my father was more introverted, but very kind, very generous man, worked hard. He passed several years ago now, but no matter what they told me, and they would say, TaRita, they're just people, I still was real shy. I still was afraid. I still sometimes dealing with us at school, we could be brutal. Kids talked about me, but even in those spaces, I was like the kid that everybody that was not accepted, that was rejected, would draw to, even when I didn't want it to be.
Wow. So you had that natural magnet. When I think when a lot of people that are just natural people persons, I
Mhm.
mean, I think you get to learn that as you get older. But I think once you get to be that people person, it's one of those things that when everything just comes out, everybody gets to see that bright light that you got.
Mhm.
And apparently your light is shining all the time.
I don't know about that, but I sure hope so. It's the light of Jesus in me if it's shining.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your work here in the development that you do for your community. For people who may not be familiar with the right place,
Yeah.
give us the full picture of who are they,
Mhm.
what do they do, and why does that work matter to Grand Rapids and to Michigan?
100%. So, the Right Place is the second largest economic development organization in the state. And we have three pillars. We have, first of all, we have a mission that everyone would be economically prosperous. We have three pillars. I lead the people pillar: people, place, and prosperity. Prosperity is traditional economic development, business development. We have people that go all over the world and they will meet with folks. Let's say they spend 2 weeks in Europe, for instance, and they may meet with 40 companies, and their role is to bring back companies to greater Grand Rapids area. And we've brought many here. We've been in existence since 1985, so that those companies can bring jobs here and help to be economically prosperous. Then we have place, that's traditional community development, everything that would make a person want to stay in an area. And they do many things under that umbrella, such as working with municipalities and making sure that even in rural communities and areas there is broadband. Or, one time I was at the largest uh, producer of organic eggs, and they were like, "Oh, you all helped us build a road so that the trucks could get here for to deliver." Largest producer of eggs, of organic eggs, for many major industries in the country and even in the world. And then, people. I lead, my role is a blend of talent and diversity. So I am the bridge builder, the connector, my team between those that work at entry level. They may be in K through 12, community college. They may be work-based organizations or workforce development orgs, plus the diversity organizations. I am that bridge builder with all of the employers. And so,
Wow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. And so we have people, place, prosperity. Just to give you a glimpse of what the magnitude of this is, we have 50 of every major CEO or college president or city official that sits on our board.
Wow. So you guys do a whole lot.
Mhm, mhm. Whole lot in the community to bring here, to make sure that they're working with the state, make sure there are tax incentives to bring business here, companies here, and we are 100% nonprofit. So these different organizations that are our stakeholders pay into the organization, and we're in the community doing the work. In the talent arena, we do many things. We focus on talent attraction, so bringing people that are not from this community in the community. So, for instance, this summer we had an internship program with over 500 interns. We had a conference, we do a podcast, we do many social activities, and we had interns that represented 90 different colleges and universities throughout the country that were here interning. Probably the largest internship program, definitely in the state, but probably in the Midwest. And we do a number of other things. We do talent visits at this organization as a whole. We see over 600 companies a year. We are connectors, bridge builders, things of that nature.
So describe your role as SVP of Talent and Diversity in your own words. What does the typical work actually look like for you?
It is different every day. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you're going to be like, where is Waddle today? Very active on LinkedIn, do a lot of things in community. So I speak, I do a lot of public speaking. I personally will visit about 50 companies this year. I'm going in and I have an assessment that we created called My Talent 360. We're assessing, I thought of 3 areas and overlaid with diversity from what's your employee brand? Well, how do you source and recruit talent, and how do you retain talent? And I'm connecting these leaders. I have a group coming in of all of many of the top chief HR officers slash diversity officers that's coming in so that I can tell them about our strategic plan. We just in February of this year launched our new 3-year strategic plan. And I'm going to tell you something. We had over 500 people speaking to that plan, representing the various different groups, employers, community-based organizations, and higher ed institutions. So I may be at a company, I may be speaking, I may be doing a workshop. It's a number of things. I also have I have a very talented team. I have 2 young women, one who leads the attraction program, our internship program, our podcast. I have another who leads we have a radical hospitality program. So what I found is, as we have so many transient people coming here, because this is a community that a lot of people grew up and they know everybody, not everybody feels connected or plugged in. And so we have we call it radical hospitality program, where we do programming to connect people in lots of different subgroups that we're going to launch. And we've had 3 programs already this year. And we've had at least 50 people from literally all over the world that are living here today coming to connect. It's one of the most diverse programs that we have. Tomorrow, for instance, I'm starting the day off. We have a leader circle where we have different leaders from different organizations coming to Frederick Meyer Gardens. We're going to see an exhibit, and they learn a little bit deeper insight about what we're doing in economic development, and they stay close to us. And we each as executives have a group of them that we're responsible for. And I just had my group at the office doing lunch. I break bread with a lot of people, breaking bread yesterday and telling them what the talent landscape looks like for Michigan. We released a 2026 talent report. So I had an event around that where we had all of these different leaders at the embassy suites, and I went over all the statistics of what's happening in a national landscape for talent, all the way down to our local level, and how they can make impact. So it is a number of things. Later on the day tomorrow, I'm doing a candid conversation, which is a fireside chat with a chief talent and culture leader for a bank. And we're going to talk through how she retains talent. How does she attract and retain talent and become an employer of choice? So every day for me, it looks different.
So you're essentially connecting employers, educators, workforce partners, and the state of Michigan into one cohesive talent ecosystem.
Yes.
How do you hold all of those moving parts together?
We got people that help, and we also have a number of councils. So we have a tech council, and we have a leader that leads our tech council. We're getting ready right now for our tech week. Last year, that brought over 15,000 people. We had Steve Wozniak kick that off. This year, Damon and Robert from the Shark Tank, they are kicking off our tech week. There's a group that I helped to bring in to end our tech week called Black Tech Saturdays, based out of Detroit. They're going to end our tech week. They're helping a lot of Black professionals, entrepreneurs, founders, anybody that touch the tech space really launch and be great in their tech businesses. So just it's a number of things. We have a number of partners. I sit on about 8 different boards, most of which are talent related. Others that are personal interests as well.
So what does an equitable talent ecosystem actually look like in practice? Not in a PowerPoint, but in real life, on the ground, in a community.
Collaboration. It's collaboration. You could go alone, or you can really build it together. It's putting everybody at the table who needs to be at the table, those voices that are on the margins, but they on the ground floor doing the work. It's bringing them to the table. It's making sure that we have representatives, and it's making sure that they have the funding and the resources to do what they need, or connecting them to the people or organizations that do. It's all, every part is connected. So on my small team, I have one young lady, she does community visits, and she has a certain number where she's out in community, and she
Your internet is frozen.
they do to make sure people security. You know, I sit on another board led by a Black woman, STEM greenhouse, who works with middle school and high schools to make sure that they are ready in math and all of the STEM. So all of these pieces, all of these plates are connecting. Another person on my team, she does educational visits, and she has a number of visits, and then I do about 50 employer visits. We're all working together.
So, what are the biggest gaps in the current workforce development landscape, and what do you see as the most urgent opportunities to close them?
Mm-hmm. Whew, there's some gaps. Number one today, to talentscape. Birth rates are decreasing, and so we don't have enough people to do these jobs. So when you think of skills trade, when you think of a number of jobs out there, we don't have enough people. In the future we won't. So right now we are a candidate rich environment nationwide. We've got over 600,000 Black women, educated Black women, without a job today. That's a problem, right? And so that's a huge problem. And so how do we get all of those women, and not just them, and others in the workplace, whether it's through entrepreneurship or jobs at organizations, and where they're not in a role that is underutilizing their skill set? That's a gap. What I see today, particularly here, but I believe this is true nationwide, entry-level talent that is coming out of school, they're having a hard time, regardless of what they look like, what skin they're in, finding jobs, because entry-level jobs is being transformed because of, we're doing a lot of things with AI and automation, and I'll get there. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, as companies merge, as they have challenges, whether it's in tech and different industries, because this is industry specific as well, executive and higher level positions, when they lose a job, where do we place them? Because they've set a certain standard for themselves, and now they may have to move or do whatever when they have a whole life somewhere, because opportunities are taken from them, or their companies have merged. So that's a reality. And then you got the middle, where the opportunities are, but how are we making sure people that are currently in the roles that they are in the right seats, on top of the economics of it? I make X, but the pricing is this. When we think of gas, when we think of food prices, there are a lot of things going on. Then there's AI and automation. We have to be upskilled. So if our people, so if I think particularly about Black people, if we are not upskilled in STEM, and if we're not doing it early on, if our school districts are lacking teachers in the STEM, we're going to have a problem, because they're going to be left behind. So those are gaps that we need to close, and make sure that we are upskilling talent that are currently in the educational realm, but also talent that are in the workplace, because people are living longer. We have multiple generations in the workplace, and people are going to have to work longer. So how are we also, on the opposite end of the spectrum, upscaling the aging workplace?
And so, as you say that, because I mean, you hit on like so many different things that I think they're more than just gaps, but like that one big thing in the beginning, because that's the one thing that really caught me off guard, is the fact that all of these top tier Black women that are so educated were laid off all around the country. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that, if there's one thing that that most of us should actually think about, is that one thing that you said, or the part of the question, the premise of the question, the gaps. Mm-hmm. That is what actually created all of these gaps. Mm-hmm. And with that creating all of these gaps the way that it has, and I understand what you guys do at your company and how you're trying to fill these gaps. Mm-hmm. What is the one driven essential focus that you guys may be thinking about or pushing forward with in trying to fill at least a few of these voids? Mm-hmm. Because you guys can't do it all.
No.
But what are some of the main things that you guys are looking at to fill those gaps?
Yeah. It is a talent ecosystem.
Mhm.
We are bridge builders, we're connectors. And because we're at the center, because we have so many leaders, our number one priority is to bring businesses here to create jobs. That's economic development.
Right.
Right? So that's creating the jobs. My responsibility, I would say, in the work that my team does is making sure that we provide the strategy. We don't put the people in the jobs unless they work directly for us, but we're providing the strategy, the access, the resources. What I have found sitting in this role is if you don't know, you don't know, and you're outside of access. And
Right.
oftentimes it's people that are on the margins that don't have the access. So my responsibility is also to let them know of these different opportunities, the access, and make the connection. So to give you an example, if I'm in a company and they say, TaRita, we're going to be hiring. I met with a tech leader that's doing all of these things in AI. He said, I'm going to be hiring about 77, 80 jobs, and they're good paying jobs to the end of this year. My responsibility is to not just take what he's saying, but also to put that in community and use my connections to make sure these people that are out here looking for opportunities that are a match know about these jobs. And then all of the other resources, because it's not just about getting a job. For some people, it is. I sit on also a board called The Source and West Michigan Works, and it's also about, do I have what I need? So once I get on the job, I stay on the job. So if I have food insecurity, housing insecurity, if I'm dealing with all of these different dynamics, what are the resources available for me? I'm also tied to the Urban League, the Hispanic Chamber, the Hispanic Center. I mean, the Asian group, all of them, all of them.
Wow. Well, see, yeah, your hands are definitely full. But I got to ask you this next big important question is how do you think about the relationship between DEI and economic development? For some people, those feel like separate conversations.
Mhm.
How do you make them one?
They are one. First of all, when we look at the US Census data in this country, even though birth rates are decreasing, there are three ways in this country that the population is growing. Number one is domestic and international racial and ethnic diversity. If we're going to grow, we are growing. That's where the population is growing. So, regardless of what is happening politically, that's a moment in time. But as we need people, AI can't do all the jobs. We're going to still need people. And if the population is growing, particularly in racial and ethnic, domestic, and international diversity, we got to look at that. The last way that is growing is age. No, so we're not only called the browning of America, we're also called the graying of America. We're at an age today where there are multiple generations. All generations are in the workplace, and we need to equip people to separate diversity, equity, and inclusion landscape in the economy, because who you think gonna do all these jobs? Because that is where the population is growing.
Right. So retention is often harder than attraction. What are the biggest reasons that talented people, especially Black and Brown professionals, leave organizations, and what can employers do differently?
They leave. It's still number one is their supervisor. Not even the money. The money coming there too. It's in the top, but the supervisor. So if I'm in a role and I am underutilized in my position, and people fail to utilize my gift and the value that I bring, I how long you think somebody gonna stay there? Or if,
Exactly.
or if I'm in a job and I'm constantly getting microaggressions, it's only so many times I'm gonna keep taking these paper clips before I got bruises all over my back and my whole body. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. And this is the thing, because it's a candidate rich environment, that doesn't mean that an employer should get lax on the retention. You have to be an employer of choice and understand that. I believe that what you put in the ground, you're going to get back in return.
Okay.
regardless of the season that you get it back. So if I put good in, I'm going to produce good. If I put bad in, I'm going to produce bad. So this is the thing. My clients and my employers, they're all connected. Every single person that works for an organization can be a good or bad brand ambassador for it. So if I got people that are ill-trained and they got to management or supervision because they was good at their job or because they was connected to Curly, and now I'm being managed by somebody that doesn't know how to manage me or understand me, this is going to hurt the organization as a whole. It definitely will hurt in the future when you think about Black and brown and cultures that are more collectivist, because we tell word of mouth is big for us. So if you're doing right, we're going to share that. And we're going to want other people to take part in that. And so when there are opportunities, because a lot of these companies have employee referral programs, and you get paid if you're referring good people and they stay there. So retention is everything. The culture of your organization is everything.
You know what I find so fascinating is that you know, as we're talking about this, is a lot of the things that you're speaking is so true and are so logical, but logic does not dictate how things how a lot of these companies operate. So with that being, let's just call that the foundational base, that you're just gonna get something, you're just stepping into something. We got to do something to fix that and to make that right and make that cohesive, because what it sounds like to me is that, yeah, you know, companies are companies and they make their policies and they do the things that they do. But there's also a standard that's above them that's supposed to be upheld. So without that happening, let's just throw that out the window, because we know that's not happening. What is it that people, good, talented people, that should be in a lot of these places are not getting these opportunities? Because a lot of people, and let's just call this a fact, a lot of people do not care about being entrepreneurship. They just want a job, and they want to do what they have to do, and they want to live their everyday life and be happy. What can we do about that kind of situation to make things a little bit easier foundationally for a lot of people that are looking for these great jobs and companies that really are about the retention? How do we find that?
This is a layered question. This is like an onion for me. All right. So when we think about entrepreneurship, and I know that's not for everybody, but we also have to support our businesses so that they can provide opportunities for people that won't get these opportunities elsewhere. But they have to have enough capital and resources so that they can stay in business. So that's collectivism is important. Unity is important. If it happens to you, what makes you think it can't happen to me?
Exactly.
So we are our brother and sister's keeper. Whether we like it or not, we are. So we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. I'm so busy. Listen, I can have coffee, lunch, dinner, breakfast, and all of it with people all day long, happy hour, and not even do my work. That's how many people that are in my view that want to sit down and meet. That's the truth. My poor admin. I don't even unleash it fully to her because she supports me and the CEO, and I ain't trying to kill her.
Right.
So we have a responsibility. So if I am the person that is looking, I also have a responsibility. So for those of us that have the opportunity, whether we want to be the person that is the model or not, we got to kill it. We got to be consistent. We got to show up on time. We have to do our job well, because we are brand ambassadors for our own group, whether we realize it or not. And it could either hinder that sister or that brother that's coming through, sitting in an interview. And often if I'm hiring for us, I want us to do well. So, I need you to do well when you get in here. We have to upscale our own people. We have to help people. We have to teach them how to interview. We got to network like nobody's business. We have to use any platform we have. So even if I'm at home and I'm on TikTok, now I'm on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok preaching because it's fun for me, right? Or I'm just doing that in my pastime. But even if I'm creating my own thing, like a YouTube channel, or I'm leveraging LinkedIn, if I don't know about you as an employer, sometimes great talent is difficult to find. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to network, as uncomfortable that is for many people. I love it. But a lot of people, that's not their thing. I actually teach this because they don't want to do it. I get it. It's uncomfortable, but you got to, number one, feel the fear and do it anyway. And number two, you have to stretch yourself outside of your comfort zone. It may take, you may have to, when you're looking for a job, I've been there. It's like it's looking for a job is a job. I've been there where I stayed in the library for 8 hours every day, applying, connecting with people, getting on LinkedIn, asking for informational interviews, getting discouraged, but I got to get back up again and I got to keep doing it. And you're like, I did all that and I still can't get the opportunity. Now, for me, that's when I'm really leaning in my faith, because I can't trust man. I got to trust God to give me the opportunity because he gifted us. So there's opportunity for us. And I know not everybody is faith-based, but for me, that's number one.
So, what is the conversation you most wish corporate leaders in this country were having about workforce equity right now, but aren't?
I wish they would go back and not look at us as at diversity and equity and inclusion as a 4-letter word. I wish they wouldn't allow the political chaos and the cacophony, because it's like a bunch of noise everywhere, to deter them from people. And not everybody does, but go back to it. Because once again, our population is growing in 3 ways: racial and ethnic, domestic and international diversity. And AI and automation is an enhancement, not necessarily a replacement. It will replace a lot of jobs. It will also create jobs. And so we have to equip people. So I wish we could go back to these conversations and we could make sure the funding is available for people like that, Dr. Kelly, that I work with in STEM Greenhouse, who's educating our students on the STEMs, particularly Black and Brown, making sure, because right now, today, when we look at the educational layout of it, a lot of them don't even have what's qualified for math proficiency beyond a certain level, making sure people can read the basics. So we got to go back. I can't just deal with the people today. I got to go all the way back from K through 12, and I got to see what's happening. And are they being left behind? Let's make sure they have the digital literacy, the STEM proficiency, the English proficiency. I wish we were having these conversations, and some are, because I say there is a short-term and long-term response to talent. What is my organization doing for the long term? Because long term is reaching all the way back through K through 12, all the way up, but also not forgetting about all of those people that are unemployed, or people that are sitting in community, going to the Urban League, going to the Hispanic Center, going to these different groups and association, and they're trying to upscale themselves. I can't forget about them. I wish we're going back and having those conversations. I wish there was more unity across races. None of us can do it alone. We need everybody. And for me, heaven is going to be kingdom. It's going to be everybody. So if I'm cutting off people, then I'm not who I think I'm going to be. You think I'm going to get into heaven?
Well, let me ask you this, because with this being so prominent at the front of what's happening in America today, the one thing that I think about, and I need you to help me out here, is because, I'm not hearing you, but I'm listening to you. And I definitely understand, what needs to happen, where it needs to go, and why it needs to get there. And so, you mentioned earlier about those that saying that they're doing the work, but they're still not getting the opportunities. Mm-hmm. Now, again, as we go back and you say, let's break it down into the layers, where you got the people, you got the company, you got the profits, you got the jobs, you got the environment, you got the community. All of that feeds together. So as it comes together as one, but you got one that's essential, the one that's supposed to be supplying the power is not supplying the power to all. And for me, it looks like, and it seems to be a purposeful thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get people to connect themselves to each other in order to try to create a better situation?
This is my question. What are you willing to do to fulfill the purpose in your life and to get that opportunity? What are you willing to do?
Okay.
Because sometimes you got to do things and push yourself so far out of your comfort zone. And I'm not talking about doing nothing crazy. I'm talking about it takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot of putting yourself out there so that you make the connections. Sometimes you got to build your own table. But once you're at the table, you can't sit at the table alone. That's boring to always eat. Now, sometimes I like eating by myself. But listen.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
But sometimes I need a break. So I got to know when I need to retreat, but I gotta do the research. I got to figure out what are the organizations where I live. So if I live in Atlanta, what are all of the different organizations and inroads? Who do I need to know? I can't do bare bones. I can't just apply online and let my resume go in a black hole and then I never hear back. I got to get on LinkedIn. I got to find connections. I got to go to networking events. I got to share a little bit about myself. I may have to do community service because the best way to get a job is to be seen in community doing and giving to others. If you give back to others, I promise you, even if you don't believe, God will give back to you. But I got to ask myself, what am I willing to do and what can I do? Because not everybody is going to have a closed door. It can feel like that, though. Not everybody is going to have a closed door. Not everybody is going to say no. But what do I do when I get so discouraged? Because I've applied for 200 jobs and my resume or application just went into the applicant tracking system. What do I do when I get discouraged? When I still got to feed my family and I still got to eat? What do I do? What am I willing to do? How do I... Well, you talked about Bethune-Cookman. What did our ancestors do?
They formed their own.
We cannot give up. The greatness is in our DNA. That's why people get so mad at us. We done tried to kill you. We've killed so many of you. We done did this, but y'all just keep getting back up. Still I rise. We got to dig deep and we got to figure out, how do we help each other? How do we work together? And not just together, but how do we work across race? Because remember, for me, kingdom is everybody. So I see you in this other country that's going through too. Now I got to deal with my country. I got to deal with what I'm dealing with. But that doesn't mean I don't see you and that I don't care. And I got to figure out what I'm called to, because I'm one person. I can do so many things. So what is it that I am called to, and how can I help, and how can I connect and link arms to others? I got to understand that even when I go through seasons without, and I've been there, trust me, that everybody, I've got to change my mentality. And I got to help others that look like me and others that don't look like me understand that everybody can sit at the table, and not just sit at the table, but eat well.
That is true. If you had unlimited resources, time, funding, political will, what is the one workforce development initiative you would launch immediately, and why?
This is hard. I only get one.
One.
All of these Black women that don't have a job, and Black and brown men and women that are trying to figure out how they're going to eat. I will create something for them. I will create funding streams, whether you want to go the entrepreneurship route. So I would train you and get the right people to help you to be able to launch that business. And not everybody that looks like me, but people across race, because I got to think global if my business is going to succeed. And I got to bring everybody into this. I would also create another stream where I'm helping companies who they don't even know how to find you. They don't even know where you are, and creating platforms so that they could actually find you, and networking events, and providing internships and apprenticeship opportunities, and giving companies the funding. So essentially the funding that I have is paying you, not necessarily that company, but you're getting the opportunity, right? I would also do another stream where I'm reaching back to K through 12, and even these students that are in colleges and community colleges, four-year institutions, that don't normally get internships or opportunities because they got to work. And I would give funding so that their education is 100% paid for, and they have a stipend to live, and working with companies and hiring a staff to make sure there's a one-to-one match for internships across the country, across the globe even.
That's interesting. And I know I said one, so I know that, that's kind of hard to do something like that with this just one single thing. But, in today's time, this, you have to think about, I guess you just have to think about one. Let's talk a little bit about the work that you do in leadership and entrepreneurship. How would you describe your personal leadership philosophy in just a few sentences? What are the non-negotiables of how you lead?
Yeah, I also have a leadership consulting practice, and I do a lot of leadership and executive coaching as well, a lot of workshops. And one of the things that I believe in, I got my own 80-20 rule. I think we should power 80% of the work that we do, if we can, should be aligned with our natural giftings and abilities. And if you do that, you will always be successful. That 20%, this percentage may ebb and flow, are the things that we have to do that we necessarily don't want to do. But if I power how I am created, what I'm naturally gifted to do, if I look for opportunities in that, no matter what it is, because they are there, I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to be more fulfilled. And that organization is going to be successful because I'm happy and I'm fulfilled. And sometimes that seems like that's not possible when we think of economics, but it actually can be. We got to expand our mind. Number two, I think the number one leadership thing that people need, that for me, is self-awareness. If I don't know myself, if I don't know what I'm really good at, what I'm not good at, if I'm not 100% confident in my ability, when I see other people where I think I should be, I may get jealous, I may be difficult. I got to know who I am, be very self-aware, and where I need to grow and develop, so that I'm not mad about my brother or my sister doing great things. I can cheerlead for everybody because I know who I am and I know how I can lead. So self-awareness. Number two, you got to be emotionally intelligent. You got to understand your worldview. How were you raised? How were you weird? How do you see the world? What is your foundation? So for me, obviously, I've said multiple times in this call, I am an elder, I'm a minister, so it's going to come out my mouth. It's faith, but that's not everybody. So what is your foundation? What is the thing that fuels you? What is your purpose? You got to know that, because that's going to impact how you lead. Very, very important. And I believe you should always sharpen the saw. So who is your own, for your life, who's your own personal board? If everybody on that board have the same level of experience that I have, we in trouble. Who can hold me accountable? These are the things that are important for me in leadership.
So, as a Black woman in a senior executive role, what has it taken emotionally, strategically, spiritually, for you to show up at that level consistently and authentically?
I was going to say that a lot. And number one, being my authentic self. Who I am is this is who I'm at work. I have a wonderful leader. Listen, we had the same personality. We even though we in different genders, different races, all of that, behind them closed doors, I tell him, I ain't got no filter with you. If I can't be authentic with who I report to, and I can't share what I really go through, then that's problematic. I have to show up as myself. Now, we all have to have at times code switch and things of that nature, but I've got to be able to power my gifts. I got to be able to tell you the truth, and you got to be able to hear that. It takes a lot. It takes a lot because the pull on me is great. I am the first African American executive at this organization. So the pull is from everybody, not just people that look like me, everybody, internally and externally. So it takes a lot. I have to be really invested in self-care, and I've not done that so well. I'm trying to get better at that. I'm finally, I was in New York a couple weeks ago and I got sick and I couldn't eat for 3 days. That was good because I need to lose some weight after, now that I think about it, but in the moment it was not good. When I was throwing every trash can in Times Square, I'm telling you the truth, and a lot of times I'm TMI because this is who I am. And I'm telling you what, I have to care for myself. I got to care for my kids. I have to remember what my purpose is. I can't be all things to everybody. And I sometimes think that I should be, and I can't be. So I have to care for me first, just like they tell you in an airplane. And I'm learning to do that better because I have put myself, like many Black women do, last. And time out for all that. We don't wear a cape, even though it looked like we flying around here, and we do. Sometimes we need to be on the broom.
I will tell you this, Dr. Johnson. When you're saying getting better at self-care, I mean, that is the one thing I'm working on right now myself because, I think once you get so involved in what you're doing and you loving what you're doing, I think sometimes it just goes by the wayside. You really don't think about it. But until something happens, then it's like, ooh, okay, wait a minute, I got to bring this back. Yeah. And so I know that's pretty tough, but hey, you're right about that. That self-care has to be one of the things that you got to do. You've navigated a wide range of organizational cultures: higher education, corporate banking, retail, economic development. How do you read a room and a culture quickly and adapt without losing yourself?
I do a lot of public speaking. And a lot of times I'm called in some rural area, and it may just be me in that room, and I got a whole room of people, and I have had to learn to read. That's the EQ. That's the emotional intelligence. I also train it as I'm often developing mine. So when I'm going through, that's why that board of directors for your life is important. I got to have people on 911 status. So if I'm going into something, number one for me, I got to be prayed up. I have to have a strong spirit of discernment and wisdom. I can't say everything that come in my head. And I'm a TMI person. I can't say everything. But I need to know what I need to fight for and what I need to be quiet about. Everybody can't be a burn it down person.
That is true.
So I'm in the spaces in the rooms that I'm in because I have learned to work strategically behind the scenes. I have helped so many people that they don't even know it. And I don't need the credit. I just need them to get the help. And there are some people that I'm trying to help, but if they kill it for themselves, they don't even know. So I need to learn how to work strategically and be mindful of every platform, every opportunity I have, what I say, and the impact and the weight that it carries so that I can continue to be invited to the table and have a voice at it.
Talk to us about building teams. What do you look for in the people you want around you, and how do you cultivate a culture where people can do their best work?
For me, the smaller the team, the better. And I've had many teams, well over 20 years. This is really important. Who you hire matters. I hire character, not always skill. Because if I can teach you the skill and you have the character, I can't teach you the character. So I am very strategic in how I interview people, the questions that I ask them their non-negotiables. I tell them my leadership style so that I can get this right. And then once I hire them, We do a lot of personality assessments and things of that nature. I give them a full description of who the leader that I am. I'm telling them that in the interview process because you may not want to roll up with me. That's very true. And then I understand who they are. And sometimes, depending on where they're in their career, I'm explaining to them through assessments what I see. And then I'm doing one-on-ones. I have an open door policy. I have I have two newer to career people, and then I have one that's almost on the opposite end. And so I'm to them, I'm coaching them. I treat my team as if I'm doing an executive coaching session for all of them, for each of them.
Well, I'll tell you that's a good thing to do, because I think for a lot of people they need that extra help in order to move forward. But when you get to that part where you're doing that, and let's just say, let me just play devil's advocate because not everybody comprehends well.
No.
How do you deal with situations like that?
Yeah. You got to understand how they do comprehend. This is why character matters and hiring, getting it right, because everybody not a fit. That's just the reality. Everybody looks like you can't do it. You know what I mean? Some of you wouldn't hire some of your family members. You didn't learn.
Okay.
So you got to be really strategic in how you interview, and that process has to be pretty tight. But once you're on the team and they're not comprehending, how do they comprehend? So I whiteboard a lot. I spend a lot of time talking with them. We read leadership books. I mean, when I tell you I'm executive coaching my people, I'm executive coaching them, each and every one. We create goals together so I can hear. And if they're not getting it, what are they getting? What are they hearing that I'm saying? And reflecting that back to me. And I'm also assigning them work that powers their giftings. Because if I'm powering their giftings, even giftings that they don't know, but I see, they're going to excel. I have a phenomenal team right now. But I will tell you, I spend a lot of time with this team. We build together.
I like that. Have you ever been the only Black woman or one of very few in a room of decision makers?
Always, every day.
So how do you handle that, and what would you say to the other Black woman facing that reality right now?
Number one, you can't be in a position like mine and that not be your regular experience. Real talk. You got to know yourself. You have to really know yourself, and you need to know, just like I would tell that little girl, you good enough. You better than that. You're the blueprint. Now go in there and do your job, do your thing. Use your voice where you need to use your voice, but also have an open posture and learn, because you don't know everything and different people move differently, and you got to glean insights for them. So if you have the privilege, because it can be a privilege to be in these rooms, how do you also create space for other people that look like you and others that are different to be in those rooms by how you carry yourself?
That's interesting too. So, like in said situations, though, I mean, like in having to make the difficult decisions, I mean, are those decisions really difficult, or do you just like make a decision when it just has to be made? Do you think a lot about your decision making? Let's say you've got to tell somebody, "Hey, you got to go." Do you think about that, or do you just do it and be done?
I think about that. I think a leader is strategic and should be intentional. And if you got to let somebody go, that's their lifestyle, that's their livelihood. That should not be done lightly. And if you can do that without blinking, I would be questioning your moral compass and your love for people. And people that could do that, I'm afraid of them. Every time I've had to let somebody go, that hurts. But that don't stop me from letting them go if I realize this isn't the right opportunity or situation for them. I have to think about it for the benefit of the organization, the benefit of my team, but also the benefit of them. So if I exit somebody, I should exit them with integrity so that they still have their decency in order.
What does entrepreneurial thinking look like inside a large organization? And how do you innovate and take risk within an institutional framework?
I told you I'm a builder. So if I'm hired in, that's what I'm designed to, that is how I'm created. That's what I do. Whew. Your credibility, your experiences, you got to stand on that. The research, you got to stand on that. You put these proposals through, and you cannot be afraid to innovate and try different ideas and expose them to everybody. I have had to present to these 50 leaders several times. Several times. My strategy, what I'm doing, our strategic initiatives, all of these different things. I can't be afraid. And if I am, I got to feel the fear and do it anyway, like I said. But I have to stand on my years of experience and what I know and my credibility and the research. If I was immobilized because I don't think I could innovate, I wouldn't be able to work in any of the jobs that I've worked in. I am an innovator. Now, my mind works in ideation, and I have teams told me before, like, could you turn it off sometimes?
Well,
I always,
hey,
I always think we should stretch and do more and do something different and do something new. My mind is always turning, but that's part of how I'm wired. I realize that it's not everybody's wired, but if that question is wonderful for me because you're talking to somebody that has been designed and created and builds everywhere she goes.
so what is the hardest leadership lesson you've ever had to learn? The one that cost you something but made you better?
Oh, you know, everybody not gonna like you. Period. Matter of fact, everybody that look like you, they ain't gonna like you either. You want people to respect you, but even then, not everybody is gonna respect you. But if they gotta work for you, they better respect you. And everybody that you help won't appreciate it. I gotta put in good things in the ground, and I gotta understand that the blessing and the benefit may not come from the people I help because some people won't appreciate it or even realize it until you're no longer in their presence.
Yeah, then they too will be all right.
Leadership is lonely.
You've had mentors and sponsors throughout your career. What's the difference between those two relationships, and why does that distinction matter for emerging leaders?
I had to rephrase what I think a mentor is because I can't go back through my career outside of my mom and Big Mama and say my dad that I had a official mentor where like I am to people today, right? I can't where we met for coffee or lunch regularly or whatever. I didn't have that. However, I had many people that gave mentoring moments. And sometimes I give people mentoring moments. So I had to redefine what mentorship is. A mentor is a person that usually will walk alongside you and coach you. Sponsor is very different. I've had many sponsors. A sponsor leverages their social capital and their positionality and gifts you with it. And that's what I do for my team. Anybody that worked for me, they pretty much got my social capital.
How
And
do you manage? How do you manage the tensions between strategic, playing the long game, and also showing up with urgency for communities you serve who can't afford to wait?
whew, it depends on the circumstance. Each circumstance is different. That's a hard question because I have to move as that circumstance arises. If it's immediate, then I have to pull on resources to help those communities get it done immediately. If it's long term, then I have time to plan and prepare. And everything that's good oftentimes comes from being processed.
Yeah. Um. Let's. Oh. What does legacy-centered leadership mean to you, and how does it show up in the way you make decisions day to day?
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm having some my computer is going to die here. So let me just connect here. I'm sorry about that. Um, okay, so how I show up, legacy is everything, right? So think about our ancestors. And I told you already, to whom much is given, much is required. Um, I think about that often. I think about it's not about me. I said in the beginning of this call that our gifts are not for us. So everything that I am doing, I'm strategic about it. I'm intentional about paving the way. The team that I have today, I have some younger folks on my team. I am building them because I'm always looking for who can replace me, who can be the next. So that is always in the forefront. What's the legacy that I want to leave for my children and in my life? My work is missional for me. It's not just a job. What's the impact? What's the good that I am sowing to be a blessing for the greater good?
Well, I don't want to, we're like fighting here in time, but I want to give you this one final question. What is it like when it comes to the people that are watching and they're listening to the work that you do in leadership with this great organization that you work for? What are a few things that you like to tell them that they need to try to bring into their being as they go out into this world and try to make the best of what they need to get?
Okay. Maybe I'll do this in an acronym. I'm going to do this in an acronym called VISION. So with the V, you have to have a vision for your life, for your purpose, your mission, and understand that your vision and your call, your purpose can change over time depending on what season of life that you're in. The I is you have to have intellectual curiosity. If I want to stretch and grow, I got to be curious intellectually about different things. I got to be curious about people that don't look like me. I got to be curious about different opportunities, and I can't limit my mind. I can't even allow myself or anybody else to put me in a box. So when I think about the S, I think about self-awareness. I got to know, what am I really, really good at? What's the thing that I can do that, oh, I don't even have to get paid for because I just love this thing, and I got to figure out how I can do that all the time. And then when I do another I have to have integrity with things that I do, that it matters what I do when even other people can't see me. It matters what I think, what I do behind closed doors, that I have to uphold my integrity when I know it's only God watching. The O is I have to have an open posture, right? I have to be open to different opportunities that I never thought about, different experiences, and I got to stretch myself beyond the fear or uncomfort. And the N is I have to be okay with sometimes being a novice at things as I embark upon something new. I'm learning these things, and it's okay if I don't know everything. That is vision.
Well, I hope that those that are listening, I hope you guys can take this for what it's worth, because that was really, really great. So in closing, do you have any other words of wisdom and encouragement that you like to tell the people? Tell them how to connect with you via social media, your website, how to get your books, all of those good things.
Yes. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message right through there. It is TaRita, JTARITA. Last name Johnson, JOHNSON. I would love to connect with anybody listening. And just remember, you are enough, and you are multi-gifted, multi-purposed, and multi-talented. And don't let anybody put you in any box, not even yourself.
Right. Well, I want to say that as we have got to this part here, I want to thank you for being here, because this was really, really great. And I love, you sharing not just the great work that you're doing, but what it takes to be a part of leadership and how leadership operates. That's something I think a lot of people need to understand, because sometimes people don't understand what leadership is and just think sometimes, and some people get away with this like, oh well, I know such and such, so I'm good, I don't care what you say, but people have to understand what leadership is, because leadership, when we talk about economic development, like how you're doing it, leadership is very important because it has impact on many people, many places, and many things.
Absolutely.
So, for all of you that are watching on all of our channels, especially the YouTube channels, if you're a first-time listener, and for those that have not yet, I would ask if you would please support us by subscribing and enabling all notifications to all of the YouTube channels. And you're able to go back and watch all of our previous recorded shows where all of our previous leaders and professionals that have been here have left lots and lots of wisdom for you guys to get an understanding as to not just building yourself, but building community. So in closing, I want to thank you guys again for being here. Join us again tomorrow night, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we have another great show of American Black and White. I'm your host, Charles King. You guys have a great evening. And Dr. Johnson, if you can you please wait for stay around for a few minutes?